Let's start with our first news. We are just about a month away from Khamzat defending his middleweight title against Sean Strickland at UFC 328, and the predictions are heating up. Colby Covington is completely backing the champion, showing zero doubt in his mind. According to Colby, Strickland simply has no chance in this matchup. He strongly believes that Khamzat will take full control of the fight early, secure the takedown, and completely dominate on the ground. Colby explained that the difference in grappling levels is massive. He pointed out that fighters like Hernandez are nowhere near the same level as Khamzat when it comes to wrestling and overall pressure. In his view, Khamzat operates on a completely different level compared to anyone Strickland has faced before. Because of that, Colby expects a very straightforward game plan. Take Strickland down, put him in dangerous positions, and either secure a submission or control him for the entire 25 minutes. He also referenced past sparring sessions, where it was said that Khamzat had already shown dominance over Strickland. Based on that, Colby believes nothing will change on fight night. He made it clear that Khamzat would be smart, avoiding unnecessary striking exchanges, and instead forcing a grappling-heavy fight where he has the clear advantage. On the other side, Kamaru Usman has a completely different perspective. Having shared the cage with both fighters, Usman understands the challenges each man brings. He acknowledged that Strickland's style is very tricky and unorthodox, making him a difficult target to deal with. According to Usman, Strickland's defensive habits, leaning back, blocking shots, and disrupting rhythm, could create real problems for Khamzat. Usman also pointed out that Khamzat often relies heavily on one dominant weapon, his wrestling. While that has worked against most opponents, he warned that if Strickland can somehow neutralize that approach, the fight could become much more competitive. In that scenario, Khamzat would be forced to show a more complete skill set. He didn't discredit Khamzat's striking either. Usman reminded everyone of the moments where Khamzat stood and dropped Gilbert Burns multiple times, proving he has real power on the feet. If Khamzat adjusts his mentality and fights like a true mixed martial artist instead of relying only on wrestling, Usman believes fans could witness an all-out war between the two fighters. With two very different predictions from two elite fighters, this matchup is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing fights of the year. Move on to another news. Arman is making big statements about the lightweight division, and this time he's got his eyes set on Ilia. In a recent interview, Arman made it clear that a potential fight between him and Ilia would be absolutely massive for the division. He believes both fighters are currently in their prime, which makes this matchup even more exciting and dangerous. According to Arman, this isn't just another contender fight. This is a true 50-50 matchup. He explained that fans would be completely split, with half believing he would win and the other half backing Ilia. That level of uncertainty, combined with their skill sets, is exactly what makes this fight so huge. Arman emphasized that there are very few fights at 155 right now that can generate this kind of buzz and global attention. He also made it clear that location doesn't matter. Whether it's a massive international card or a special event, Arman believes this fight will stand out anywhere. He even mentioned how a showdown like this could headline a historic card and have everyone talking. For him, this is one of the biggest fights the UFC can put together in the lightweight division right now. At the same time, Arman didn't hold back when speaking about Max Holloway. He took some strong shots at the former champion, claiming that Max is already done at the highest level. According to Arman, Max's wrestling is completely gone, and it showed clearly in his recent fight against Charles Oliveira. Arman pointed out how shocking it was to see a fighter with nearly 20 years of experience struggle to defend even basic takedowns. He believes that performance exposed a major weakness, and it's something elite fighters will continue to target. In his view, Max looked off, slow, and unable to keep up with the demands of high-level competition. He went even further, suggesting that Max is now in the phase of his career where he's just looking to cash in on a few more fights before walking away from the sport. It's a harsh assessment, but Arman seems fully confident in his opinion. With all of this, Arman continues to position himself as the next big title challenger. And if a fight with Ilia does happen, it wouldn't just be important. It would be absolutely explosive, with massive stakes and global attention locked in from the very beginning. Move on to another news. Paddy Pimblett has just revealed some eye-opening details about his fight weight, and it's something that's getting a lot of attention. Known for his extreme weight fluctuations between fights, Paddy didn't hold back as he explained exactly how his body changes from weigh-ins to fight night. In a recent YouTube video, Paddy shared that after cutting down to 155 pounds for the official weigh-in, he doesn't stay at that weight for long. In fact, he made it clear that he's only at that number for a very short time, sometimes just 1 or 2 hours. Right after that, the process of rehydration and refueling begins, and that's where things get crazy. According to Paddy, by the time he steps into the octagon, his weight climbs all the way up to around 87 kilograms, which is approximately 192 pounds. That's a massive jump, putting him close to light heavyweight territory on fight night. It's a huge difference from the lightweight limit, and it shows just how extreme weight cutting can be in MMA. He also explained that this transformation doesn't happen overnight. Typically, he gives himself around 8 to 10 weeks between fights to properly prepare his body. During that time, his weight naturally increases, and then he goes through a strict and intense weight cut leading into fight week. The final cut down to 155 is the most difficult part, but it's also the shortest phase of the entire process. Paddy addressed the criticism he often receives about his weight, especially from fans who think he should maintain a lower walk-around weight. He pushed back on that idea, saying people don't understand how the system really works. According to him, almost every fighter goes through similar cycles, gaining weight outside of camp and then cutting down before the fight. He made it clear that what he's doing is not unusual in the sport. Fighters at the highest level regularly cut significant amounts of weight to gain a size and strength advantage inside the cage. For Paddy, this approach is simply part of the game and something he has learned to manage over time. These revelations highlight just how intense and demanding weight management can be in MMA, and why fighters often look completely different on fight night compared to the weigh-ins. Move on to another news. Sean O'Malley is showing major respect to Arman, and his recent comments are getting a lot of attention. While talking about the current state of the lightweight division, Sean didn't hesitate to give Arman his flowers, calling him a true gangster and someone who is quickly becoming a legend in the sport. According to Sean, what Arman is doing right now is something very rare. He pointed out that fighters usually build their names strictly inside the UFC, but Arman is doing something completely different. Despite not being as active inside the octagon as he would like, Arman is still growing his reputation and star power outside of it. And that's not something fans see often. Sean made it clear that Arman is hungry to fight. He emphasized that Arman isn't sitting back or avoiding competition. Instead, he's actively looking for opportunities and pushing for big matchups. In Sean's view, the issue isn't Arman's willingness. It's the fact that he's simply not getting the fights he deserves right now. He also spoke about Arman's ultimate goal, which is becoming a UFC champion. Sean acknowledged that the path to the title is complicated at the moment, especially with big fights already lined up in the division. He mentioned the upcoming clash between Gaethje and Ilia, noting that it could play a huge role in deciding what happens next at the top. Even with all that uncertainty, Sean believes Arman is still winning in a different way. By staying active, competing in grappling matches, and continuing to build his brand, Arman is keeping himself relevant and in the spotlight. That constant presence is helping him grow into something bigger than just another contender. Sean described it as something cool and fun to watch, because it breaks the usual pattern of how fighters rise through the ranks. Instead of fading into the background while waiting for a fight, Arman is building momentum in his own way, and it's clearly working. In Sean's eyes, it's hard to argue against what Arman is doing right now. He's turning a frustrating situation into an opportunity and slowly building the kind of reputation that can't be ignored. Step by step, Arman is evolving into a true star, whether he's inside the UFC cage or not. Move on to another news. Nate Diaz has just revealed some huge behind-the-scenes details, and it turns out he completely shut down a UFC offer to fight Conor. Speaking on a recent podcast, Nate explained that the UFC actually approached him for a trilogy fight, especially after plans for Conor versus Michael Chandler didn't move forward. According to Nate, the promotion was seriously interested in bringing him back for this matchup, possibly even as a major main event. But despite the hype and the history between the two, Nate made it very clear he was not interested in taking that fight right now. He explained that while the UFC did offer him a very big deal, even bigger than what he was offered elsewhere, The problem wasn't the money, it was the opponent. For Nate, everything comes down to teaming, and he believes this wasn't the right moment for that fight. Nate said he only wants to face the best of the best, and more importantly, he wants to fight them when they are at their peak. In his view, Conor, while still a big name, isn't currently in that position. He referenced Conor's recent setbacks, including the loss to Dustin Poirier and the serious leg injury that followed, suggesting that Conor is still rebuilding. Because of that, Nate made a strong decision. He doesn't want to be the guy who ends Conor's story. He made it clear that while there's no friendship between them, he also isn't interested in stepping in just to finish someone who isn't at their full strength. That's not the kind of fight he's looking for. Instead, Nate has his sights set on something very different. He revealed that he wants to fight Charles Oliveira for the BMF belt, a matchup he sees as a true test against one of the top fighters in the world. However, it looks like the UFC isn't currently aligned with that idea. Nate emphasized that if he's going to compete, it has to be something big, something that truly matters. If the UFC can't provide that, he's willing to look elsewhere and take the biggest opportunity available. With this decision, Nate once again proves he's moving on his own terms, refusing to take fights just for hype, and instead focusing only on legacy, timing, and real competition. Move on to another news. Khabib has just revealed some very interesting details about a recent phone call with Ilia, and it's quickly getting fans talking. During a public appearance, Khabib confirmed that he and Ilia had a direct conversation, and the topic was something big, a potential fight involving Islam. According to Khabib, Ilia personally reached out and asked him to speak with Dana White about making a fight between him and Islam happen. That alone shows how serious Ilia is about chasing the biggest challenges available. A matchup like that would be massive, bringing together two elite champions and creating huge global attention. Khabib, who has remained very active even after retirement through coaching, appearances, and mentorship, especially in regions like Dagestan and the Middle East, didn't dismiss the idea. Instead, he spoke openly about the conversation and even extended an invitation to Ilia to visit Dagestan. That gesture shows a level of mutual respect, despite the competitive tension building between both sides. While speaking to fans, Khabib was asked directly about the possibility of Ilia facing Islam, his opinion on Ilia as a fighter, and whether they'd been in contact before. He confirmed everything, making it clear that the call was real, and not just rumors or speculation. Interestingly, the reason behind the phone call wasn't entirely serious at first. A few weeks earlier, Ilia had made some aggressive comments about Khabib's team, which caught attention online. In response, Khabib jokingly mentioned that he might have a talk with him. What started as light banter quickly turned into an actual conversation between the two. Despite those earlier comments, the tone of the interaction wasn't confrontational. It was more friendly and respectful, showing that even with competitive fire, there's still understanding between high-level fighters. This kind of dynamic is common, especially considering that Dagestan and Georgia are neighboring regions with fighters who often share both rivalry and mutual respect. Now, with this conversation out in the open, the possibility of Ilia versus Islam is gaining even more momentum. Fans are starting to see that behind the scenes, talks are already happening, and interest from both sides is real. This situation adds another layer of excitement to the lightweight and featherweight landscape, as potential super fights like this continue to build hype across the MMA world. Move on to another news. Arman has now provided a fresh update on his return, and it looks like he's staying ready for a very big opportunity. In a recent conversation, Arman revealed that he is currently preparing to serve as a backup fighter for the upcoming Ilia versus Gaethje matchup, even though there has been no official confirmation from the UFC yet. Arman explained that he has already had discussions behind the scenes, and the plan is simple. Stay in shape and be prepared in case anything happens to the main event. If something goes wrong, whether it's an injury or any last-minute issue, Arman is ready to step in and take that spot without hesitation. He made it clear that he's treating this seriously, not just as a possibility, but as a real chance to fight on a massive stage. Instead of waiting around, Arman is actively training and keeping himself in fight condition, ensuring that he can perform at the highest level if the call comes. Interestingly, Arman also spoke about his approach to weight management for this situation. Unlike a typical fight camp where fighters go through a full and intense weight cut, Arman said he does not plan to cut all the way down to 155 pounds unless it's absolutely necessary. He doesn't want to put his body through that stress unless the fight is officially happening. However, he emphasized that he will still keep his weight low and manageable. That way, if the UFC calls him on short notice, even just 4 or 5 days before the event, he can quickly make the required weight and be ready to compete. It's a smart and calculated approach, balancing readiness with physical health. Looking ahead, Arman also hinted at what's next beyond this backup role. He suggested that once Ilia and Gaethje face off, the UFC will most likely announce his next official fight. And based on the current situation, there's a strong possibility that he could be facing the winner of that matchup. This puts Arman in a very strong position within the division. By staying active, prepared, and flexible, he's keeping himself right in the title conversation. Whether it's stepping in last minute or waiting for the official announcement, Arman is making sure he doesn't miss his moment back, and that mindset could lead to something huge very soon.